Good afternoon, everyone. Last time I was doing some codesters, and I'm going to finish that up here. We're programmatically placing sprites on the canvas, and then we're hitting the space bar. Let's see, that's not the one. I've cleaned it up a little bit, by the way. I had started by using bats, and then it turns out I wanted to, let's see if this is it. I think this will work. I wanted to use cats instead of bats, so some of my function names by the end of the last video were somewhat out of sync. I had the word bat still lingered, and now we've moved to cats. So to review, you can watch the last video, but you can also start with this one. I can place these cats simply by clicking with my mouse. And all that's happening here is I'm running the method called createCat, which is highlighted lines 5 through 11 here. Now I've done something. I've added an attribute called removed to every cat as I create it. Note that the word sprite, unlike usual in Codesters, here it only occurs inside the body of the createCat function, so it's not really going to last outside the function. By the time the function ends, there's nothing sprite anywhere. The word sprite is only meaningful locally to createCat. However, I do append the sprite to all cats, a global list. So the cats kind of stay accessible to me. I can loop over this list later and do things with those cats. So even though the individual name is gone, like it's not called sprite, by the time it gets added to the list and the word sprite goes out of scope, I can't refer to it that way anymore, but I can still get into the list and do stuff. And that's what happens further down here. After I hit the space bar, I run the start moving function. We did this in the last video, and that gets this move cats function. Move cats runs every 2 seconds. So here's the move cats, which is kind of the heart and soul of the next part of the, I won't call it a game, but the next part of the, let's call it a game. So here we go. Scroll over to where we can see it so you can see what happens here. When I hit the space bar, it also adds a space on the console. But notice the cats, when they touch each other, which they do very quickly because this is a crowded space, there's not much room. When the cats move randomly, chances are they're definitely going to hit each other. So I'm clicking with my mouse to create new cats. I'm allowed to do that, but they don't last very long. So that's all that's really going to happen in this game is that cats may be created at will. They move around randomly every 2 seconds. That for loop runs, and when the cats touch each other, they disappear. So sooner or later, I don't have any cats, unless that is there's just one cat left. So let's just stop it at that point, and again look at the code. You see the move around stuff is happening under, got to scroll to the right function. Where's my move around stuff? Come on here. Where is move cats? I'm afraid when I hit the space bar, it disappeared, didn't it? Oh, that went away. Oh my goodness. But it was still running because it got compiled, and then I hit the space bar and it disappeared. But it was in memory, and now I brought it back with Command Z. So this whole function is pretty important. It's where I loop over the global list. Now, why did I have to declare all cats global inside of this function and not, say, inside the click function or create cat, which runs when I click? Why is this not needing the global statement? Well, the answer is I'm going to actually point the global all cats to a new list each time I run this function. And if you want that to be global, you have to declare the variable to be or name to be global. I'm not just modifying it. I'm not like adding a sprite to it, which I can do even if it's not declared global. because I'm not modifying what it points to. If I actually take a name and repoint it to a whole other object, it's like taking a telescope and pointing it to a different star. If I want to do that and have it have ripple effects at the global level, if I want all cats to be affected at the global level, then this line here, 28, when I repoint the cat, all cats to this new list comprehension over here, that requires the global statement because I'm really pointing the word all cats to a whole new list. Now, what is this whole new list? That's called a list comprehension there for cat in all cats, if not cat removed. What I'm doing when I do a collision detection is I say remove true on both cats involved in that collision. In other words, every time a cat is sensed to touch another cat, then the cat itself, sprite, and the sprite it's touching, hit sprite, get passed in automatically as arguments. Now, I don't want to remove them from the list right while I'm still looping over it. Notice the collision function gets run inside the for loop, so I'm still looping over all cats. And it's a source of many bugs to delete members of a list as you're looping over that very list. Things go wrong there. You end up skipping certain things. And that may be happening anyway, as I'm about to mention. But it seemed the best practice here to create an attribute called removed started out as false, and when it turns out I want to get rid of those cats off the stage, I set remove to true on both of the cats, and then I actually remove them from the stage using the remove sprite method. Then down back in move cats, I've looped through all the cats now. It's time to purge my list of all cats that have remove set to true, and that's what I'm doing in this line. And then if I ever get to not having any cats left, I want to have a game over, and I'll print that out to the console in the back. But nothing's been printing, and as it turns out, we never get down to an empty list. Why would that be? I'm not actually sure how this is set up, but clearly stage remove sprite is removing the sprite from some buffer or some list that the stage itself maintains of all the sprites. And that's distinct from the list I've created programmatically called all cats to just hold the cats I create here. So somehow, even though this looks like it should get down to an empty list, by the time I've disappeared all the cats, I never really do, and so game over does not appear. Exactly why, I'm still working on. But this doesn't crash. I played with many other versions of this, and deleting things from the list was causing problems until I started to do it this way using the remove attribute. Okay, that worked. That time the list did come to an empty point. It's still running every 2 seconds, so I could put some more code here, but at least it's correctly saying game over. But I don't guarantee that will happen every time, especially if I get into creating a lot of new cats during the process. Let's run it one more time, and I'll show you what I mean. So here I go, cats. I don't want to look at the console. Go back to the front. Go back to the cats. Let's make this smaller. Okay, placing the cats is kind of phase one. And then I'll hit the space bar in a second. Okay, just hit the space bar. Now I'm going to keep placing cats, but that every 2 second thing is running, and cats are disappearing like crazy. There's hardly any left. Okay, I'll let the last 2 survive. They're gone. Okay, that worked too. But let's say I'm not done. Create some more cats. Okay, at this point, 1 cat left, so I'll create a cat. Now they're both gone. Look in the back. Okay, here you don't see game over again and again and again, meaning we're not running around inside this list or this if condition on 2930. We're not hitting this every 2 seconds. We're not running line 30 every 2 seconds, meaning all cats still have some cats left in it, even though they're all cleared from the stage. So somehow we get out of sync with what's on stage versus what's in the thing, what's in the list, all cats, and I think it has to do with maybe every 2 seconds there's kind of almost threading going on where it's starting to run the loop multiple times at the same time. They sort of pile up on each other, these move cats, and therefore some cats fall through the cracks and don't get removed. Anyway, you can tell I'm a little unclear about why I don't always get an empty list, and that's because Codesters is kind of subtle. There's a lot going on here in terms of it being Python in the front, but behind it there are much more layers than just Python by itself. So thanks for listening. I hope this was of some interest, and have fun with Codesters. It's a great little development platform.